Alright, let's go. It's time to return to that dark side of animation. To celebrate the spooky month of Halloween, let's check out some spooky cartoons. These cartoons aren't necessarily jump scare scary, but they bring shivers down the spines of many. Or something might just be slightly off about them. So let's check out the top 10 spookiest cartoon episodes. These might not be scary specifically to you, but some of these episodes just woo. So let's do this countdown. Number 10. SpongeBob, Squid Bob Tentacle Pants. Most of us know, sometimes SpongeBob can get a little creepy. But I never expected them to go into the realm of fusing two bodies together into one hideous abomination of nature. Sandy's teleportation machine, of course, malfunctions, causing SpongeBob and Squidward to transmute into one molded being. I kinda like the creativity of the animators combining their body language, but the whole concept gets genuinely disturbing within 3 minutes. It almost seems like the creators were just trying to jump scare younger viewers with their various unsightly joint abominations. And the writers end the episode with this grisly image.
What seems to be the problem, Mr. Tentacles?
It all started when I was born.
Yeah, kinda creepy. Joint-fused abominations struggling to survive. In my opinion, this was about as spooky as SpongeBob has gotten. And coming in at number 9, Gravity Falls, Weirdmageddon. Gravity Falls always had this beautiful, mysterious, spooky atmosphere to it. Throughout the series, we got zombies, rainbow-vomiting gnomes, and ghouls of every kind. But things didn't get really spooky until Bill came along. Even by the end of the series, I'm still not 100% sure what Bill was. But when he was given the chance, he brought the apocalypse to Gravity Falls.
Welcome one and all to Weirdmageddon!
Suddenly, the whole town has this dark, hellish glow to it. Bill began turning people inside out, forcing them to choke on their own eyeballs, turning them to stone, breaking their minds, breaking time, or just making a live throne out of their paralyzed bodies. There's this artistic beauty to the new intro, turning the beautiful town of Gravity Falls into a hellish landscape of fire, blackness, and complete and utter dysfunction of all life. While fortunately, Dipper, Mabel, and Stan do eventually turn the tables on Bill, it was a thrill of conclusion to watch them fight Bill in some of the most creative, gripping settings I've ever seen in an animated series. Weirdmageddon was the perfect spooky end to one of the best Disney shows of all time. And for number 8, Steven Universe, episode Frybo. What was going through Rebecca's head when she made this episode? Occasionally, Steven Universe can get creepy. Really creepy. But the weirdest, unsettling episode was Frybo, where Steven's friend Petey decides to quit being a Fry's mascot, and with the help of Steven, gets a replacement for his job. Unfortunately, this creates a tentacle-filled, blood-spewing Fry's monstrosity in the process. As Petey comes to terms with his loss of innocence and the responsibilities of adulthood, out of nowhere comes this disturbing imagery and music, in what can only be described as a horror scene. This fleshy, veiny Frybo horror takes over the town, forcing them to eat fries. Okay, it's not that dangerous, but it's still creepy. While Steven Universe certainly has adult messages at times, this is one of the few times an episode felt more like a monster horror than the light, pleasant, cheery, emotional Steven Universe we normally know. Number 7. Watership Down. Technically, this cartoon wasn't spooky scary, and I know it's not an episode, but Watership Down creeped a lot of kids out. So now's the perfect time to talk about it. In Watership Down, we get lovely children's concepts like torture, suffocation, and the general smushing of creepily drawn little bunnies. But that being said, this is actually a very sophisticated film, bringing strong storytelling and good voice acting together. And all of this animation looks painstakingly hand-drawn. I'm all for showing kids a little gore to tell a strong story, but jeebus! Some of these scenes make Secret of Nim look like Sesame Street. General Woundwort particularly. This was one creepy little bunny. If you ever want to encourage a friend not to get a pet rabbit, show him this blood-hungry little monster. Beautiful film or not, I'll take Judy the Bunny over cannibal bunnies any day. And the 6th spookiest cartoon episode is Gumball, The Joy. Gumball is normally a pretty tame cartoon, but The Joy was different. It gave us this continual barrage of creepy imagery, weird flashes and odd camera angles, and it did it really cleverly. The grotesque, slithering emotion of joy is infecting the school. Miss Simeon recognizes the outbreak and tries to stop it, but her efforts are futile as this joyous, sappy disease festers through the school, infecting all. I love the way the creators managed to make something not really that creepy into both a hilarious and terrifying episode. The use of music, pacing, dark shades, and camera angles makes it feel really spooky, yet it still managed to remain well and truly G throughout the whole episode. Miss Simeon particularly really steals the show with her performance in this episode, and really sells the character. The Joy was a particularly fun, clever, spooky romp through Gumball's school day. And for number 5, all episodes of Courage the Cowardly Dog. Was there a single episode of this series that wasn't creepy? Courage was just a melting pot of bizarre, tripped out nightmares. But probably the one that unsettled me the most was called The Great Fusilli. Essentially, Eustace and Muriel get turned into lifeless marionettes, eternally frozen in place. And then what? Well, Courage defeats the Great Fusilli, but they're still puppets. Courage makes them move around a bit, and that's the end. The only humans who have ever cared about Courage are lifeless puppets. Hooray! Just puppets in general have this unsettling, uncanny feel to them, and these puppets are no exception. Courage the Cowardly Dog was a series with so many spooky moments and villains that it was practically made for Halloween. Number 4. Avatar, the Puppet Master. The Puppet Master was psychologically chilling, and the perfect example of the beautiful storytelling Avatar can do so well. For the 2 people not familiar with Avatar, a waterbender can bend, well, water. But think about that for a second. Water is everywhere, including in our blood. So what if someone was to learn how to bend the water running through our veins? Bloodbending is essentially the necromancy of the Avatar world. This was a gorgeously chilling story that introduces us to the disturbing nature of bloodbending, and the setting slowly builds to this disturbing discovery. Watching the Puppet Master twist and manipulate every vein and muscle in our team's body is legitimately creepy. Hell, this could be even more horrifying as, when you think about it, our brains are made up of 75% water. Yeah, bending the brain would probably take Avatar out of the G for general exhibition realm. Eventually, Ahiro Katara is forced to become a bloodbender herself in order to save her friends. This was a powerful moral dilemma and a great way to end the episode. This is among my favorite Avatar episodes, and deliciously spooky to boot. And the 3rd spookiest cartoon episode is Invader Zim, Dark Harvest. A children's cartoon about the harvesting of bodily organs. Only in the 90s would Nickelodeon have greenlit this. And as much as I adore Invader Zim, this was one creepy episode. The Nickelodeon we have today is a far contrast from this. They give us lovely imagery as we get a camera going deep inside human organs to look at their beating heart. We get every organ transplanted and replaced with strange objects Zim randomly picked out. The entire style of this episode is creepy. The way Zim will sneak up on his unsuspecting victims and silently dispatch of them. It's kinda horrible to watch, actually. And the music for this episode is like something straight out of a horror film. Come to think of it, all of Zim's music is like something out of a horror film, so I guess that's pretty normal. Dib tries desperately to track Zim down as Zim continues his silent snatching of every organ he can find. But, like all horror films, the hero's efforts are ultimately useless as he inevitably becomes another of the villain's victims. Creepy, disturbing, and surprisingly graphic for a cartoon. I think Dark Harvest is the spookiest Zim episode of them all.
More organs means more human.
And the second spookiest cartoon episode is Alma. I know, it's not technically an episode. It's a short Pixar film. But I'm breaking the rules because I saw this recently and it majorly disturbed me. Pixar can do creepy. Really creepy. Alma, meaning soul, is a short animation about watching an innocent child touch a doll that steals her soul and isolates her in a tomb of plastic for all eternity. For me, this 5 seconds of footage alone is enough to send chills down my spine. Tell me you don't feel the terror and panic this child is going through the second you see this. Ugh. Pixar has the power to move us, but they also reserve the power to creep us out. Interestingly, it was created by the ex-Pixar employee Rodrigo, known for his work in WALL-E and Up. But this ex-Pixar employee was later hired by DreamWorks to create a DreamWorks adaptation of this terrifying piece of animation. And it's now in development. While I'm happy an artist got to fully realize their horrifying vision, it's probably not going to be my kind of film personally. And I think I'll keep an eye out for Inside Out 2 instead. And before we get to number 1, I'd like to give some quick honorable mentions. Mickey Mouse, Black and White. I stand by, these Mickey Mouse shorts are still awesome, and I once again recommend them. Black and White had a nice spooky theme to it, a fun conclusion. In case you'd like to take a look, Disney still shows these for free on YouTube, so I've attached a link in the description. Night on Bald Mountain from Fantasia. A beautifully artistically dark scene. Fantasia was good before this, but this was the scene that made Fantasia a masterpiece. Nightmare Before Christmas. Jack Skellington started this trend in animation of creative, spooky cartoons that we're still seeing today. It's a definite staple of Halloween, but Nostalgia Critic recently reviewed this movie far more detailed than I ever could, so I gave it a skip. Freaky Stories. Freaky Stories was such good fun. Each freaky story was creative, compelling, and a spooky but pleasant laugh. The Black Cauldron. It's a bit of an odd choice, I know, but this movie actually had some surprisingly creepy imagery for a Disney film. I'm not sure if this is part of why it bombed at the box office, but some of this animation was Disney fantasy at its best. And with those said, here we go. And the number 1 spookiest cartoon episode is every single episode of David Lynch's Dumbland. It's David Lynch! Why? Just why would you give David freaking Lynch, the tools to animate? Everyone knows that everything Lynch touches becomes uncanny and horrifying. Just zap yourself already! What did you expect David freaking Eraserhead Lynch to make with an animation budget? Something cheery? Something heartwarming? Something cognitively coherent? And the weird part is, this is some of the most simplistic, stick figure-like animation you'll ever see. Yet Lynch still managed to send chills down my spine with it. Understandably, no studio was willing to give Lynch more than a $13 animation budget. Just the way Lynch hangs forever on one freaking scene. Why? Whether he has a large horror movie budget or a 12-ounce mouse budget, you gotta admire Lynch's constant efforts to horrify us with whatever tools he has at his disposal. The story is, our hero, Randy, just deals with his daily suburban life in this cartoon, often in unpleasant, violent, and revolting ways. And just in that general Lynch fashion that will make viewers feel uncomfortable about being human. Like most David Lynch, I wouldn't show a kid this, or an adult this. If you're over 18 and you're really curious and you somehow like the Uncanny Valley, maybe give it a look with a friend. But personally, I'm sticking with my policy of never looking at anything with the word lynch in it. To me, this is the spookiest cartoon I've ever seen. Ugh, Lynch. But honestly, I think, within reason, it's good to give our kids a little spooky imagery. While not to the point of traumatizing kids, I think a little fear is important. Disney, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, all the new cartoons know this. Terror is an emotion that both kids and adults have to face at some point, and teaching people how to handle those emotions young is important. Because like all the movie cliches say, we always fear what we don't understand. I'm not saying go and watch a horror film, I just think a little spookiness is good. Because when we shine a light on that lich in the darkness, he's not always quite so scary in the light. Do you think I missed a particularly spooky cartoon episode? If you think so, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. And a special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to help support the show yourself, you can find my Patreon link here or in the description. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.